Every club fan's biggest nightmare, an injury during the international break, the big talking point for Barcelona ahead of probably their biggest 2 weeks of the season. This is Numbers Don't Lie, powered by SofaScore, alongside Stefano Fusaro. I'm Chris Wittyngham. We're asking the question, Barcelona in trouble? And Stefano, it's because of the injury to Raphinha that he suffers on international duty with Brazil. A huge one for them.
Massive, just because of what he does, not only in the attack, but in the defense as well. We're going to check out the numbers on that here in just a second. But he is arguably the most important player. He kind of earned that nickname of Mr. Champions League after what he did last season in the Champions League. So it will be a miss for sure for Barcelona not having Raphinha available.
Now, his production has actually gone down a little bit, and yet here he is still ranking amongst Barca players 26 goal contributions, third best on the team, but it's those possessions won in the final third. The dribbles, obviously, Lamine Yamal so dominant in that statistical category. But really, I think the biggest number that we're going to focus on in terms of the on-off numbers for Raphinha is actually in defense. So we see 31 games with him, 15 games without him. 0.81 goals conceded per game with him, 1.8. It's a full goal worse per game without Raphinha. The pressing, obviously, is such a key part of their defensive game plan with the high line that they play. Without him, that kind of collapses.
Yeah, you mentioned it before we went on the air that we were talking about just he may be the best defending attacker that we have in world football, just because of what he does when the press, putting pressure on those back lines when they're playing, and being able to recover the ball. I think it's so big what he does in the defense. And a full goal for an attacker, as far as goals conceded, it really is a number that's kind of unheard of, really.
Right, and you can isolate other variables. There have been other injuries, but realistically, it's such a big difference without him in the team. And we're looking at some of the figures over the course of the season, and I think now the question is, who kind of has to step up in his absence? I think we start first with Lamine Yamal. This is what it looks like in terms of the run into the season until they play that El Clasico in La Liga on May the 10th. We're kind of focusing on the league, but there, of course, are the Champions League ties to play. For Barcelona, it's 3 of the next 4 matches against Atletico Madrid. Against Atletico away in the league, then home in the Champions League, then away. There's a Barcelona derby in between against Espanyol, and then a potential Champions League semifinal. For Real Madrid, obviously, it's Bayern Munich in the last in the quarterfinal of the Champions League, and then they have to play maybe potentially the semifinal, then that Clasico. The fixtures look a little bit kinder to Real Madrid, but I think we're kind of looking at, obviously, the picture in the league. Barcelona currently favorites. They're 4 points clear of Real Madrid in La Liga, but without Raphinha, how much does that change?
It does change. I think they do have replacements. They can continue to push forward. The issue with Real Madrid, too, with everything that they've been through, kind of expected them to Barcelona maybe have a bit more space away from them in the table, but it's not like that. Right now, just 4 points is massive, and if you look at La Liga right now, it's wide open, and the fixtures would benefit Real Madrid. A lot has to do with what happens in the Champions League as well, but I think that's a big thing to look at.
Yeah, we look at their home versus away form as well. They've been very good at the various venues that they've played at over the course of the season. Obviously now full-time at the Camp Nou, and 20 wins from 21 home games will be absolutely huge for them. But let's talk again about some of those individual players that could be huge in this upcoming period. Let's start first with Lamine Yamal, who obviously is the starter on the opposite side. Will have that little bit more of that creative burden. His numbers don't really change very much, depending on whether or not he's in the lineup. Might that have to change? So might these numbers have to improve when he's out and take on more of that burden?
Yes, but obviously playing on different sides, his responsibilities might not change a ton. My biggest issue here is that when we are asking for more from Lamine Yamal, he's already given so much to this team. If we're asking for more, is that too much pressure? Is that too much on his shoulders? Or maybe just from an emotional standpoint, realizing I need to be the guy here, I need to take over. Is that a benefit for Barcelona? Maybe in the short term, over a 2-legged tie against Atletico Madrid? I'm not exactly sure if that's something that's beneficial to them, missing Raphinha, who does so much on the pitch, like we mentioned before, not just in the attack, but also pressing, forcing turnovers, and setting up Lamine Yamal for a lot of his attacking prowess.
Now, maybe Lamine Yamal will have to start setting up the player on the opposite wing, which is Marcus Rashford, who I think is going to be the obvious contender to fill in that position down that left side. This is what we've seen so far from him this season. He's only started 21 of the 39 games that he's played. 10 goals and 10 assists is a solid return. The question is now, he's been kind of the rotational piece, the piece to come off the bench, that sort of fourth forward, as it were. Do you think he's ready now to step up, fill that void left by Raphinha, and really prove why he is now a Barcelona player?
Do I think he's ready? Yes, I think he's ready to do it. It's a totally different profile of player than Raphinha, and we'll take a look at that here in just a second as well. But this is why Barcelona brought him in, to have these moments. We knew that injuries were going to be an issue. It always is when a season this long, when you're in this many competitions. Rashford has the ability to do it. It's going to be very different. It's going to look very different. They're going to need the midfield to play a part in recovering the ball, in that press, because Rashford's not going to press as much as Raphinha has, but he is a solid player with experience who can score goals, who can set up goals, and he's going to be playing on that left side predominantly, and he's going to have to push forward there to give this team some success moving forward and fill that void that will be Raphinha.
And we see his level of performance over the course of the season started better. That goal against Newcastle in the league phase is a game that I particularly remember him playing well in. But in recent times, he has to pick up that level once again. But you mentioned in terms of profile, the difference between what Rashford does. I think nothing illustrates it better than the heat map for these two players. What we know about Marcus Rashford, he loves to attack down this left side. He loves to run at defenders down this left side. This left side is his domain. Raphinha, the whole pitch is his domain. He's all over the place, and that's the energy and the intensity that he brings to the game. And Marcus Rashford just doesn't bring that. And we talked about the defensive issues earlier. Marcus Rashford, as a defensive player, does not put as much into the game as a player like Raphinha does. So you lose a lot. The question is, can you gain something off the back end from an attacking point of view? I don't know if it's going to be enough for this not to be a problem.
I agree. I think that there is, again, he can come into this game, dominate this left side, run at the right back for Atletico Madrid, and have some success. Maybe score a goal, maybe set up some goals. The issue is on the other side. Atletico Madrid, we've seen how good they are offensively this season. It's not your old Atletico Madrid that just scores a goal and sits 11 men behind the ball. They're going to go out and they're going to try to score, and that's where I think Rashford is going to have to do some defensive work. And maybe that's not where we've seen him at his best. I think that the onus is going to fall on the midfield, on Pedri, on some of the other guys in that midfield for Barcelona, to kind of make up for what Rashford is not going to do when he is not tracking back, not pressing as hard as Raphinha did. It's going to be a very different game for Barcelona without Raphinha, with Rashford in that position. Can they win? Can they find a result? Of course they can. They have so much talent, but I'm not sure that you can make up for everything Raphinha does on the pitch.
Yeah, and obviously we're talking about Barcelona in sort of a general sense, but realistically, the next 2 weeks are absolutely huge. They play in La Liga against Atletico, and then 2 matchups in the course of 2 straight midweeks against Atletico in the UEFA Champions League. So we're kind of asking who's got the edge going into this run of games, both domestically and in Europe. It's an absolutely huge period for both of these two teams. So let's start to kind of look at the numbers and dig into the matchup between these two teams. So we'll start first with kind of the Z-score comparison we've talked about on the show before. It basically is a way that we can compare teams across leagues and across metrics. You kind of start with the worst team, Heidenheim, and the best team in that sort of Z-score rating is Inter Milan that we currently have. They're sort of rated in attacking and defending and possession. You basically create a range from average all the way out to either elite or poor. So let's kind of see where these two teams fall on this scale then, in terms of how Atletico and Barcelona have performed over the course of the season. And if we look at where they are in kind of each different category, Barcelona is basically elite in everything except for defending, which basically adds up to what you see with your eyes.
Yeah, it's fair. We talked about, the biggest thing we've talked about Barcelona for the last 2 seasons is that high line, right? Is that back line and allowing teams to get in behind. So that's not exactly shocking. I will say this. Intensity when it comes to Barcelona. When Raphinha off the pitch, I have to say that number, or this ranking, would probably come down a bit because he is the most intense player that they have. The one that's running the most, the one who's having the most success when it comes to dispossessing other defending players on the other end of the pitch. So I think that's kind of where I see a discrepancy here with what we're seeing because of the Barcelona we're going to see on the pitch with some of the missing players.
Yeah, and I think obviously for Barcelona that's such a huge absence, but the defending has been the issue all season long, the chances that they allow other teams to have. And the question is, can Atletico take advantage? From a tactical point of view, from a managerial standpoint, does that place more of the pressure on Hansi Flick in your mind, this idea that he has to come up with the solutions considering the players that are now out for Barcelona?
Without a doubt. I think the Barcelona fans will feel confident, though, in Hansi Flick's ability. He's gotten this team to respond regardless of who is on the pitch.
Champions League record, 31 wins from 42 games. Yeah, incredible.
Pretty good, I would say. And Diego Simeone, obviously not far behind. A lot more games in the Champions League, but not far off. 64 wins there is a great number. The issue is when it's kind of come down to the big matches at the end against the top teams, against the Real Madrids and Barcelona.
Usually it's Real. Usually it's Real Madrid. In finals and in recent times in the knockout round.
Yeah, but against Barcelona, look, they have the motivation, they have the confidence after that Copa del Rey tie where they were able to eliminate Barcelona. I think that confidence is on their side. But Barcelona fans are going to feel good about Hansi Flick. He knows how to set this team up. He knows how to get the best out of them. And you can't really take away what that means to players and what that means to a full squad as they get ready for the business end of the season.
Yeah, and this is obviously an incredible tie. They're in the half of the bracket. This tie with the Arsenal Sporting quarterfinal as well.
Yes.
This is what it looks like so far. Barcelona obviously taking care of that second leg against Newcastle in order to get here. The other side, PSG, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Bayern. I guess you could call this the easier half of the bracket. Nothing is easy at this stage of the Champions League. But do you think that the winner of this tie goes into that next stage against either Sporting or Arsenal with some measure of advantage given the level of opposition they will have played? Arsenal obviously won the league phase. They were the best team in the league phase. They went unbeaten. Kind of had a little bit of a nervy first leg against Leverkusen. Do you see the winner of this tie getting to the final?
I'm going to say no, because I believe that Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, you look at first of all, they play 3 times in the next 10 days alone, and it's going to take a lot out of either side that goes through, whether Barcelona or Atletico Madrid. Their league fixtures as well, not easy. Arsenal still have the pressure of trying to lock up the Premier League. That is their number one goal this season. So they'll be focusing on that. But they can have that when it comes. They can already have that in the bag when it comes to this potential semifinal matchup. I think that these two teams are going to fight so hard. They're going to take it all out of each other. I think Arsenal is going to come in after defeating Sporting, I think, pretty handedly. They're going to go in, I think, with an advantage as far as not being completely exhausted from playing what's going to be a war between these two teams, Barcelona and Atletico Madrid.
And that was always the advantage that Arsenal had. You can maybe say iron sharpens iron, but at the same time, I do think that those Barcelona Atleti sides, I think if they were stronger, I think if we believed in them a little bit more as complete teams, they're not complete teams. I think Barcelona was better last season than they are this season. The injury to Raphinha only exacerbates that problem. So I agree with you. I think it's probably Arsenal. But we're asking you guys in the comment section to get involved. Is the winner of Barcelona Atletico on a path towards getting to the Champions League final? Respond in the YouTube comment section. And of course, stay with us here on Numbers Don't Lie. We have so much more to come. Get involved in the YouTube comment section at CBS Sports Golazo.
Hey, thanks for watching this video from Numbers Don't Lie. Be sure to catch our show every Monday at 5 p.m. on YouTube. And for news and insights from leagues all around the world, including Serie A, EFL, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.